The 242 people aboard Flight 171 have died following the crash in the western Indian state of Gujarat. The plane bound for London Gatwick crashed this morning shortly after takeoff in the city of Ahmedabad, hitting a hostel for trainee doctors. Of those on board the Boeing Dreamliner 787, 53 were British nationals. Miraculously, one passenger, a British man, has survived and was able to walk away. We'll hear from his family tonight. The flight took off at 1:40 p.m. local time on a 10-hour flight to Gatwick. It was only 600 feet or so in the air when it came down less than a minute later. The number of victims on the ground is still unknown. What caused it to crash is still unclear. We'll piece together what we know. And tonight we'll hear from our correspondent Yogita Limai, who's at the scene of the crash, and Samira Hussain at the local hospital. First, let's join Yogita at the site of the crash.
Rita, an acrid smell of burning rubber, wood, plastic hangs thick in the air here at the crash site. The buildings that you can see behind me completely charred, and there's a row of those leading right up to the place where the aircraft actually crashed. It's been cordoned off now, but we were there earlier, and literally we were walking through charred pieces of metal along the way. We saw bodies that were being pulled out, parts of rubble that were still smoking, parts of rubble that were still on fire. And we still don't know how many people who were in this densely residential area, populated area, were killed in that crash. But here is how events unfolded today.
It was meant to be a 9-hour journey, a plane carrying hundreds of passengers, hundreds of dreams. But just after takeoff, and in what must have been terrifying moments for those on board, this flight made a frantic mayday call. But when air traffic control responded, silence, followed by a deafening explosion. All of it caught on camera. The plane crashed just outside the airport complex, on buildings used as accommodation by medical students at a government college and hospital. Firefighters and emergency responders were rushed in, tackling the blaze caused by a plane tank full of fuel, not an easy task. Many locals ran in to help. We met one of them later in the day. Ravi Vacheta described what he saw.
I heard a loud explosion. Then I went to the spot and saw smoke billowing out. We went in with the emergency response team and helped to pull the bodies out. Everything was charred. It was very difficult, and the heat coming from it was intense.
Several hours after the crash, the wreckage was still smoking. Working into the night, rescuers pulled out more dead.
You can see there's a tree that has been upturned and is still smoking here, and behind me literally everything is charred. It's actually quite hard to even talk because the air is still smelling very acrid. It's still full of smoke, and I'm just going to try to walk around and show you the scale of the destruction there behind me. That's where the plane crashed, but literally there's a row of buildings, about I've counted 5 or 6 of them that have been completely charred. So the scale of devastation on the ground as well, where the crash occurred, the residential area where the crash occurred, is just massive.
It's still unclear how many residents have died, but Air India has said all passengers were killed except one person. This British national, who was on board the aircraft, miraculously walked out alive. He's being treated in hospital. He's one of more than 50 British nationals who were on board the plane that was also carrying more than 160 Indians and Canadian and Portuguese nationals. For families who had just seen their loved ones off at the airport, a gut-wrenching time. My brother was on the plane, one man cries.
My sister-in-law was going to London. Within an hour, I got news the plane had crashed. I had left for Ahmedabad, then I came back. We don't know anything. We've not been able to enter the hospital.
First, we were forced to roam on the streets for an hour and a half. They kept saying, "Stay here, don't stay here. We have come to see our relatives, not to be sent around in circles.
Only 3 years ago, Air India became a private airline from being India's national carrier, bought by an Indian business giant, the Tata Group. At a time when it was trying to revamp its image to that of a polished, reliable airline, this is a major trial for its leadership.
We are actively working with the authorities on all emergency response efforts. A special team of caregivers from Air India is on their way to Ahmedabad to provide additional support. The investigations will take time, but anything we can do now, we are doing.
The last deadly incident of this scale in India was also of an Air India plane, which crashed in the southern city of Kozhikode 5 years ago.